All right, this video is for graphing our logarithmic functions, and I'll be using a Casio to do it, the Casio FX9750G3. Now, honestly, this is pretty similar to how most of the Casios work. If you have a TI, maybe a TI-84 or something, you're having trouble, I would just look up the keys to do this on that particular graphing calculator, okay? So I've got my log function here. Remember, it's fine if it says f of x instead of y. We do tend to use those a bit interchangeably. They're just different notation methods. So I'm going to plug that in to my calculator here. Let me get to graph. So menu here, I'm in graph now. Some better light here. To get the logarithmic function here, I need to press option. There's option. It changes my options down here. And then I press F2 for calc. And then if you see, it should say log AB above the F4. Press F4. And these calculators is pretty nice. It gives you a little box. I can put my base is 5. Then I can arrow over to my other little box and I can put x minus 1 in there. And then I can arrow outside of there to put the plus 5. And I've got it all in there. These Casios make it look pretty nice. I'll hit enter and I'll draw it. Okay, see it kind of stops there, but it just goes this way. And that's because we've got asymptotes with these. Let's kind of talk about the asymptote for a minute. Now, I mentioned in one of my other videos about something else with logarithms that this thing in here, the argument, really can't be negative. Can't be negative. Honestly, in this case, it can't be 0 either. So it can't be 0, it can't be less than that. So this is, I'm going to have an asymptote where x minus 1 is equal to 0. Think about it. 5 to the 0 power is 1. 5 to the negative 1 power is 1 over 5. It's not going to be 0, and it's not going to be a negative. That's not going to happen. So I solve for x. I get 1. Positive 1. That's where my asymptote is. And anything less than that, it's just not going to work. And I can see that on my graph. Okay, I'll get some other points here. Let me go to menu and arrow over to my table of values. Here's my table of values. And see where it's 1? That's my asymptote, and it says error. But I do have this nice point at 2, 5. So I'll go right 2, up 5. There's a good point. And then 3, 5.5, 4, 5.5. I'll spread it out a little. Let's try like 6, 6. There's a good point. So 6, and then up to 6. It's going up kind of slowly. Maybe 8 and 6.2. You can see those. Maybe I'll try 9. I'm going to try 10. There, I was looking for another nice whole number, but it's going up slower and slower. So 10, 6.3. So it's still going up, but it's going up pretty slow. There we go. And this way, it's going down very, very fast. So fast that I couldn't even see it on the graph. Notice if I put anything negative, like look, negative 1, I get error. Negative 2, anything, even 0, I should also get an error. Yep, 0, I get an error. Anything to the left of this asymptote, I would get an error. So 1 and everything less than 1, I would get an error. That is as it should be. Okay, let's try another one, okay? This one's super similar. My asymptote should even be in the same place because once again, I've got x minus 1 when it's equal to 0, it's not going to work. I can't raise 2 to a negative power. So my asymptote should be, once again, at +1. When I graph it on my calculator, I should be able to see that. So let me go back over to graph. Once again, to get my symbols here, I've got to do option F2, F4. And that gives me my nice little log function here. Log base 2, arrow over, x minus 1, arrow over. This time I have a -5. Enter, draw. So this time, instead of moving up to here, it's down. But my asymptote's in the same place. Let me get some points off my table of value here. Table of values. So yep, 1 is error. That's because that's my asymptote, and anything to the left of that's not going to work. But I do have 2, -5, and 3, -4. So 2, -5, 3, -4, 4, let's try like 6, get further to the right. 6, -2.6, so it's over here, 6, -2.6. This one's going up a little differently than my last one, just because it's a different base. So let's try 10. What's it doing way over there? -1.8-ish, -1.8-ish. So there we go. It went up a little more before it started to level out. But on the left, it, of course, had to go down quite quickly to not quite touch that asymptote. All right. Let's try one more. These aren't too bad, especially with the help of a nice graphing calculator. So for this one, I know that x minus 3 can't be 0. It can't be anything less than that. So that's going to give me 3. Oop. That's my asymptote, okay? It should be over here at 3. I should be able to see this when I graph it. Okay. Let me get back to my graph. Delete that. Okay, once again for the graph, so I'm going to do option F2, F4. There it is. And I've got log base 2. In my parentheses, I have x minus 3. Outside of my parentheses, I have a +2. Yep, there it is. Similar shape to my other ones. All right, let me look in that table of values. And look at that, a whole bunch of errors, because 3 and everything less than 3 is going to give me an error. But I have some other good points. I've got 4, 2, so I'll graph that one and then find some more. 4, 2. Okay, what else have I got? Should we try 6? 6 and about 3.5-ish. 6 and about 3.5-ish. There we are. Let's try maybe 10. 10, 4.8. So 10, that's going to be 4.8. And it's starting to level off after that. And of course, this way it's going to get very close to that asymptote. And it just keeps going, getting closer to that asymptote, even though I can't see how far it goes. It goes on forever, but I can't see it once it gets too close to the asymptote. That's all for today.